Hello everyone! Day 2 of the WSOP Main Event is underway at the Horseshoe Casino. And among the thousands of players still in the running, there's one we're particularly interested in. Team Winamax pro Adrián Mateos is living his best life in the world's greatest tournament. You can see it in his stack, which has just surpassed 250,000 chips, or over 200 blinds at the 600-1200 level. That's more than enough to keep putting hellish pressure on his opponents. Keep piling on the pressure, Adrián.
I used to go when it was like Sakura time.
I have a hand that, depending on the tournament and which players are in the blinds, can be opened or folded. I decide to open it this time. It's a marginal open.
What's up?
Here, with my bottom pair, both options are valid, the check and the small bet. This will depend on how I think my opponent will react to the bets.
2,300. 2,400.
And if he's not very aggressive with raises, we can bluff a bit more often. On this turn, there is only one correct decision, which is to check. And then comes an interesting river. It gives a straight to a 6, although my opponent doesn't have a lot of 6x. He has 6-6 in his range, a few a6 suited, a few king-6 suited, and so on, but that's not a lot of combos. And he has some flushes, but not that many, because a lot of his suited hands would have called the c-bet from time to time, and would have check-raised on the flop other times. It's interesting to see what my opponent decides to do here. He decides to bet 1/3. That's a small bet. I think that the flushes and the 6x, the majority of the time, are going to try to use a bigger sizing. There are quite a few perceived bluffs, and with this bet he's trying to represent an 8, maybe a 7. The problem is that for these types of hands, I don't think my opponent is calling from the small blind with ace-8 off or ace-7 off. If he doesn't have offsuit combos, he only has suited combos, which leaves very few possible combinations. Also the quo, which means the price I have to pay is very good, 4,500 to win a pot of more than 21,000. And I need to win approximately 20% of the time for this call to be profitable. Bluffs, I see a few missed flush draws. Hands like Jack-10 off, I don't know if he called pre-flop, but he could. Queen-10 off, Queen-Jack off, and so on. I don't think he would turn King-High into a bluff, but Queen-10 off, Queen-Jack, etc., and a few flush draws I think are enough to call. My combo is good. The king doesn't block much as bluffs. I decide to call. I win against a missed flush draw. And I keep on winning pots. It's a good feeling when you make a streak of good decisions and they are rewarded by more chips coming your way. We are now doing the chip race.
I need one more. Please.
Yeah, I'll get you one more.
Thanks.
They're going to remove the chips of 100 from the table.
Yeah, we need 5.
I have no prize.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you.
You need to break down one more 5.
And put it down into 5s. Awesome, thank you.
The chip leader of the table is usually the one who buys them all and helps the dealer exchange these small chips for chips.
Put the 100 in front.
Yeah. Black chips come out.
You have any black?
No. What?
Yeah, don't bring it in.
Wait.
That's 1 hour and 15 minutes.
I like to keep an eye on the process so that there's no problem, and I try to help the dealer.
Give me 5s. 500. Yes. It's good?
Yeah, it sounds good, yeah.
6. 17. 20. 25.
Okay. They'll take it out once they get here, once they verify it.
I take a picture of my stack so that when I get back, everything be in order.
English only, sorry.
Okay. This is to 25K, okay? Thank you, Clay. No problem. Hey. Yeah.
For sure. Okay, not like or something? Like on day 4, no shit?
Hello. Where are you playing? In the Paris, all of you? I was doing the chip race, so I wait like 2-3 minutes and then impossible to walk. Yeah.
How much?
270.
Very nice, right?
Nice.
Building up.
You guys?
240,
Nice.
170.
Nice. Everyone over average.
Deciding not to pay this first.
Dinner break time with the team. Steph always does a good job. This helps us a lot. The dinner breaks are a bit chaotic. Everyone leaves at the same time and it's tough to get a table in a restaurant. This is why Steph helps us by taking care of this and everything. Even if I didn't have dinner, I like to spend some time with the team and disconnect from poker.
I'm gonna go to room 2, Steph. See you.
Some rest and good luck.
Thank you very much, Steph.
Ciao, à plus alors.
I'm going to take a moment to quickly go up to the room, lie down and relax for a few minutes by myself. Back to the office.
Adrián,
Cantar.
¿una selfie?
Sí, claro.
Siempre eres mi jugador favorito.
Selfie de la suerte.
Selfie de la suerte.
Ahí. Mucha suerte, que vaya muy bien.
Adrián, que estés
Vaya
muy bien.
I'm one of the first at my table.
Hello.
Hey.
I like to arrive early if I can. Everyone arrives at the same time and it's a bit chaotic otherwise. There are a couple of levels left before finishing the day. But of course, each level in the main event lasts 2 hours, so there's still a lot of work to do. Card dead for a moment. Patience and only play the hands that seem profitable to you.
High card. Yeah.
They break the table.
All right, players, you do not have to use a rack. They are recommended. If you carry them, please keep them visible all the time.
Adrian, I'm gonna ask about the Queen 6-3 to ace hand. You don't have to answer, but I'm gonna ask.
You will have. You will see in the song that I was bluffing.
Wow, Jack clubs. All right, C3. That's C3. That's C3. Still C3.
Alright, so it's still
Thank you.
my fault.
That's all right. All right, players, please move directly to these new seats. Do not conceal the chips anyway. Wish everybody all the best.
Yes, thank you.
All right, players, this is the blue section. Orange is to our right, red is to our left. If you drew bronze, gold, or silver through the GG poker doors, this is the event center.
It should be this way. The way to the new table is important. Let's see which table I will get, because the game plan varies a bit depending on my opponents. And I hope I don't know anyone. That's usually good news. I don't know any of them for the moment. I'm happy about this part, but let's see how they play. I have to try to be attentive, especially the first few hours at the new table, because all the information, even the hands I'm not involved in, give me some little information and clues.
Since you've arrived and thrown on fraud, we're gonna ask. I'm serious.
I play poker.
I don't.
Phil Ivey.
No, I don't think so. I actually saw him.
Oh.
I met him at the.
We are filming
I'm
for a
going to play
blog.
my first
Video
hand,
blog.
and I'll be open.
So filming for a video blog,
Oh, okay.
like in the content.
Shit, we play another.
What?
Gotta get to make a vlog if I
Yeah, you will be. If the pot is big, yes.
gotta try to bluff it.
Whenever I get to a table with that many cameras on me, there are always jokes and questions. It's normal. In the end, there are hundreds of tables in the room, and the only one with that many cameras is this one.
Heads up.
A good flop for my range, on which my hand is going to check most of the time.
$35, he said.
Against a small bet, my hand is enough to call. A good river. That favors my range a lot. And here the question is whether to check, and it's a situation where my opponent is not going to have enough bluffs. When I check, I'm not expecting a lot of bluffs from him in this hand. And on this river, people don't bluff often, at least not with the optimal frequency. And one more pot. Things are still going well at this new table too.
Where's Kessler at?
I have a pretty good hand for this position.
All right, players, if I can have your attention in the main event, I'm in between the red and orange sections. I have a gentleman standing here in front of me in an orange camo shirt with a tan hat. He borrowed $10,000 off his friends to play this tournament. He lost his table. He cannot find his seat. He said he's in seat 3. Can anyone help him out? This gentleman's lost right here. He had too many martinis on the dinner break. He's been trying to find his seat for 1 hour. Can anyone help him, please? Once again, he's in the 3 seats somewhere in the orange and red section. If we can help him out, please. He has roughly 130,000 chips. He is lost.
A very good flop.
Good luck with that one, buddy.
The turn is magical, straight flush.
Yeah, that's just funny.
And now, the question is, how do I get the most money out of this hand? I think checking is slightly superior, although betting is also a good option.
That's nothing, right? Okay.
And the river reveals 4 spades on the board. I have the straight flush, and here it's clear that I have to go for the check raise. I win, for sure.
For sure. For sure he wins. What do you think? 6 cards straight flush. You might win. I don't know.
Too bad our opponent didn't want to put more chips in the pot.
Didn't even see it.
But hey, hitting a straight flush is always nice. It looks like the player on my right is going to open. He's playing about 30 blinds. With this pair, I think calling is the best option.
Check.
Let's see what my opponent decides to do. It's almost half the pot and an obvious call. My hand is still too strong to give up. The turn is pretty bad for my hand, and I won't be able to continue if my opponent bets again. Let's see if he checks. a relatively small sizing. Theoretically, I don't like this bet, but with my hand I can't do much. Ace-5 of spades. The player on my right opens again. I'm going to call on the button. A monotone flop, which usually is quite complicated to play theoretically. My hand will have a tendency to check often in this case.
Well, what? It's not messed up. Bigger numbers should be that way.
On this turn, after 2 checks, I'm very likely to have the best hand. I'm not expecting a lot of check raises by my opponent in this situation. And I think that I'm going to bet to start extracting value from my hand in addition to the protection, because there are a lot of rivers that would greatly weaken the strength of my top pair. On this river, it's interesting because I probably still have the best hand, even though there are several hands that still beat me. I have enough value to get called by worse hands. He's got King 4, which is a very, very loose call by him on the turn. Especially because I made a big bet on the turn. Maybe I could have value bet on the river, but it would have been very borderline. Even though I expected him to have some slow plays trying to trick me into bluffing. I mean, there will be better hands than mine that are also going to check call me. And there's no need for him to have worse hands half the time, which I didn't find very clear. Open from the cutoff. The small blind 3-bets me by making it very small. He probably hasn't studied the theory in this spot, and that's why he chose a smaller bet sizing than theoretically recommended. The flop is crazy. I hit quads. Let's hope my opponent continues to put chips in the middle. He decides to bet 20%, and here I have a tougher decision to take than it seems. Raising and calling are both valid options. I opt to call. The turn completes the flush. Let's hope he has it.
Do you check?
Against a check, I think my hand earns much more money by betting. I'm not expecting a lot of bluffs from him on the river, and my hand is very strong. I want to try to inflate the pot right away. I choose a neutral sizing, about 2/3 of the pot. He calls me, very good news. Let's see if I can take another bet from him on the river. The river completes a few straights, but there are not a lot of them. The question here is how much to bet. Whether to go all in or to go for another sizing. I think he could have over pairs in his range, big pairs, ace-ace, king-king, jack-jack, etc. I decide to go for 2/3. I feel like he's not that strong and not that comfortable either, and that he doesn't have a very, very strong hand that often. I hope he calls. Although it would be better if he raises. It looks like he's thinking about whether he should call or not. It's a very important pot. He gives up, with good reason. And bad news for me. Still, I win a big pot. And my stack keeps growing. Another pocket pair. The big blind is in. A flop, where I'm going to have a very high percentage of continuation bets. I decide to bet 55%. On this turn, I'm going to want to have a very polarized strategy, with very big bets, with hands better than top pair or better, and with a lot of checks to protect my range on the river. This hand is clearly a check on the turn, and on the river, depending on what my opponent does, I will decide.
What?
He bets 60%. I have a pretty strong hand in this situation. He still has a lot of bluffs. Hands like King Jack, King Queen, Queen Jack.
You fill out anything with a star.
These are hands that he could bluff with on the river. He has top pair, top kicker. His hand is very strong and he wins this pot against me. I think my hand is a logical call on the river though. I get a premium hand.
Score 547.
A flop on which I'm going to continue very often. With these positions, I have a big range advantage.
547.
Jack 4, Jack 6 or 6-4 off, only suited combos. And on this turn, my hand has showdown value. I will often win if there are not a lot of bets. It's better to check with my hand. The river is interesting. There are a few possible full houses. My hand is relatively strong, and here my ace high often wins if it goes check-check. You could even value bet the river against certain opponents. But in the main event, it's a bit more dangerous.
All tournament jewelers, the championship main event. If you're starting your shuffle, complete that hand you're on. Send your players on a 20-minute break. 20-minute break, players in the main events.
We move the chips or no?
You're going to move them yourself,
When the hand is finished at your table, please exit the tournament area. 20-minute break in the main event.
No, but this has numbers, right? Or no? Doesn't matter?
Does it matter or not?
Probably not.
Oh, we know the same thing for this here.
Yeah, you're going to the same seats.
I suppose we get an extra 20 minutes.
They are moving us to the TV
You're
table.
going to get the full break, guys. You're going to get the full break. That's what they told me. They know what you're
We play fewer hands and I don't like
Where's
that.
your black? It's going to be him. Do not leave yet. We're all
No,
going
la llevamos nosotros, creo. Espera un segundo que veas. La movemos ahora todos, creo. La llevamos todas para allá ahora. Y luego el break después.
The good thing about the TV table is that I'm much more used to it than my opponents, who are probably playing on a TV table for the first time. And that might give me a little advantage. The player on my left is Spanish. He speaks Castilian. Even though I don't know him, he seems quite nice. We are moving our chips ourselves to the TV table for safety. Once I stack them, I can enjoy my break.
I get on TV.
We're gonna play one more level. The last 2 hours of the day. You can tell that people are a bit more tired.
Just over 1 minute on in. The players' cards are back in the air in just over 1 minute. Please report back to your tables at this time.
Oh, sorry.
That's better.
Yes, sure.
2, 1. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you.
All players in the main event should be back in
They
your
are taking a
tables.
picture of me for the TV table.
Level number 10, small blind 1,000, big blind 2,000. Please begin. Cards are back in the air. 1,000, 2,000 with a 2,000 big blind empty. Just a reminder, players, level 10 will be the last level of the evening.
My alarm is going off. I always set it so that I'm not late after the breaks.
There's 5K total.
It's an obvious defense against the button.
Alright, fellas, a heads up.
A player on which I have little information. A paired flop, interesting, on which I have more threes than my opponent. He shouldn't c-bet too much. I mean,
6,500.
he uses a big sizing, half the pot, and my hand is good enough to continue. I can continue with a call or with a check raise. I think this combo is best used as a check raise.
Do that. 21,000.
Most of my 3x and many of my 7x are going to raise here for value. And you have to put in some bluffs as well. This combo seems to be a very good candidate to me. He looks uncomfortable and he ends up folding. Another pot. The end of the day.
Un placer. Mucha suerte, que vaya muy bien.
Exact same too. Why not? He is the survivor.
Red. Yellow copy.
What else did you need on here? Chip count.
Name, chip count, phone count, and your table and seat.
Falta más gente, ¿no?
White goes to us, yellow in the bag. Keep the pink so you know what you're doing.
Pleasure. Nice to meet you. Good luck.
You too. Nice playing with you. Good luck, guys. Good luck.
Good luck, man. Good night.
We're off tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Buenas noches.
Take care. Ciao.
Bravo, bro. Good day, good day, good day, good day.
¿Cuánto tienes?
170, soy muy feliz.
170 está bien.
No me gusta más de ser mal.
Paco, foto.
And I have to try to leave quickly. Tomorrow we have to come back for another 12 hours in the casino. I'm going to try to rest.
Congrats, Adrian. Throughout this second day, no one could stand in the way of your steady, relentless progress. You got maximum value with your big plays, your bluffs remained untouchable, and you seized every chip-grabbing opportunity, including those that others would have ignored. In 10 hours of play, your stack grew from 143,000 to 330,000. So you'll be back at the Horseshoe for Day 3 of the main event in better shape than ever, with 130 blinds and confidence at an all-time high. We'll be here to experience this new day with you in the next episode of Inside the Mind of a Pro.